So that brings me to close study of text, and this one means you need to know the text intimately. So they could ask you about the opening, the closing. If you're doing poetry, they could actually specify the poem. Speeches specify the speech. And therefore, you really can't ignore any parts of this text. This is not one you can survive on Excel notes. You have to actually read it more than at least twice to know it well. If it's poetry, why don't you record them? Actually, blow it up to an A3 size and put it somewhere where you can see it. Get a recording if you're doing a novel, and with film, watch it over and over again. So Module B is about a sense of personal engagement with the text. It means it's your voice this time. How do you feel about the text? Why do you like it? Why not? Do you engage with it? You have to explore ideas and form and language and how they interact with you. This time, not distinctive voice or visual, but what are the distinctive qualities of the text? And you need to engage with the question and focus on detailed textual knowledge. Remember I started with this? Students fall down in the detailed textual knowledge. If you can use those rich moments in a poem or a film or a text, a novel, whatever it's going to be, you're going to stand out in the marking centre. So what did they say from the marking centre? They actually said better responses demonstrated a deep understanding of an idea or related ideas through detailed textual knowledge. They were thorough, fluently expressed and well structured. So think about what I said earlier about structuring an essay. Thesis through the question, 2 ideas through your text or 2 texts, and then the first idea in the first half of the essay, the second idea in your second half of the essay. Nice structure, works beautifully. They reflected a personal perspective. Remember, Mod B is very personal. How did you respond personally? They understood the purpose of texts and could conceptually talk about them, the big ideas. What they didn't do, they just didn't describe or recount what happens in the text. Please avoid that. And the one thing they need to do is show development of an idea through the text. So if you're studying a novel or a film, make sure you refer to the end of it. If you're studying poetry and you just end up doing 2 poems in your essay, refer to the whole suite of poetry as well. So what are the core concepts of Mod B? Engagement, number 1. Your personal engagement with the text. Distinctive qualities, the ideas, the form, the language, and how they all interact together. The characterization, if it's a novel or a film, it's the crafting of a character. And then lastly, construction, or what's called textuality. It's everything working together to make the text, the form, the language, etc. So if you look at the diagram, it's about the text in the center. To the side, you've got the composer and their context. Then you've got the meaning that's brought out from the setting, the language, the characterization and the construction. Persona if it's a poem. Then you've got you, your personal engagement, your detailed textual references and how meaning is shaped. And then the text in the center again with its distinctive qualities, the ideas, the forms, the language and how they interact. So the actual rubric for the HSC exam says demonstrate understanding of a text's distinctive qualities and how these shape meaning. So that means you can't just talk about what the text is about. What is it that stood out for you and why? And then you have to be able to organise, develop and express ideas using language appropriate to audience, purpose and form. This means you answer the question, you don't ignore it, you answer the question. You don't just learn an essay and hope that it'll fit. You actually respond to the question and you convey the key ideas. So the approach to this one, you need to know form and structure of your text. If it's poetry, what type of poem is it? If it's a short story, what's being used there? If you're talking about a film, what are the unique features of that form? What genre is it in, for example? The ideas are privileged first up. What meaning is conveyed and why? If it's a novel, or if it's a film, the characterization or a play. The key scenes and sequences or the key incidents or moments if it's a poem. The setting, the language, and the incidents. So let's take someone like Wilfred Owen that a lot of the state actually do. And look, his poetry certainly works so brilliantly for this because it's so easy to engage with his poetry. His message is so strong, we can't ignore it. And there are some really distinctive features about this poetry. So you need to know them all intimately. My first advice is find the overarching message. In this case, it's the futility of war and the impact on the innocent, all those people that fight, and what do they bring home? Owen himself suffered badly, apart from dying just before the war ended in battle. So one of the things you've got to see about his poetry is, how do I link them all together? In paragraph 2, how do I overview the suite of them before I get into the 2 poems I could be asked about? So therefore, make connections between them. Learn key quotes, not long ones, just short. Focus on the key ideas and how they're represented through that form and language.